So, and the question said we should do the required, we should prepare the asset accounts, and we are done with the asset accounts. That's the only thing that the question asks, but I'm going to calculate step by step how to get the accumulated depreciation for the workings, and also after that I will do the T account for it. Then also when I'm done I will include the disposal. So I just want you to follow me to calculate the step by step how to get the depreciation, the accumulated depreciation, the workings, and also the T account. So we still have our the necessary informations. So let's quickly dive into it. So first of all, you just write on top your accumulated depreciation. Depreciation. And so workings. So first of all, what you are going to do is, I wanted to do it a table form, but let's just go with a normal form. I think that one will be best to understand. So I'm going to create three space where the date will be like this, the dates, and this is where the workings will be, and the city sign. This is where you're going to write your city sign. So the date, the first asset that was bought was on 1st January 2011. Then the first asset was bought with 8,000 Ghana cedis. So 8,000. Since in the question they gave us 20%. 20% per annum, and we are using straight line method. So the straight line method means calculating the depreciation percent on the cost of the assets. But if it is reducing balance method, you have to subtract the scrap value or the salvage from the cost, then you calculate the rate of the depreciation on it. But straight line method, you just calculate the rate of the depreciation on the cost of the assets. So they gave us 20%. So if you are changing 20%, it's going to be, let me do it here, 20% is equal to 20 over 100, which is the 100 is having two zeros. So when you stand at the back here, at the back of the 20, you move 1, 2. So this is where the point is. Then the zero will come to the middle. So this is going to give you 0.20. So that's our rate now. So since the asset was purchased on 1st January 2011, and we are calculating the depreciation, the accumulated depreciation at the end of the year, which is 31st December 2011, it means that the asset was used for the full year. So we are just going to calculate the rate on only the cost. But so this is how it's going to be: 20 multiplied by 0.20, what is going to be equal to, let me bring in the calculator. So 8,000 multiply 0.20 which will give us 1,600. So 1,600. That's for the first one. So this asset number one. Asset number one. So asset number two. So this one is 2011. Let me write this one on top. 2011. So 2011, the two assets is what we are dealing with. And the price for the asset number two was 5,000. So 5,000 multiplied by, it was also used for full year, 0.20, which is equal to, calculator, 5,000 multiplying 0.20 equal to 1,000 Ghana cedis. So in 2011, the total depreciation or accumulated depreciation is 2,600. 2,600. So this is the amount that they had on the assets when the asset depreciated in 2011 for the full year. So we move on to 2012. 2012. These two assets, when it was purchased in 2011, they didn't sell the assets. The asset wasn't sold out. So the asset was still being used in 2012. So you have to calculate for the depreciation on the assets again, because the first year, if you use the assets and you didn't sell it off, the second year, when you use the assets, the value of the asset is going to reduce, or the beauty or anything is going to reduce, because we have used it for a very long time. It's going to reduce. But since we are using straight line method, since it was being used for the full year, the amount is going to be maintained, but we are going to do the calculation for it. So in 1st January 1st, 2011, the asset number one, the depreciation was 8,000 multiplied by 0.20, which gave us 16,000. And asset number two, which is also 5,000, 0.20, equal to 10,000, 1,000, which also gave us 26,000, 2,600. 2,600. So you see the amounts for the 2011 and 2012 are the same, because the same asset was being used. So in 2013, let's calculate for 2013. 2013. Yeah, since the assets, the first two assets, the asset number one and asset number two, was not sold off, we are still going to use them in 2013. So we are going to also carry them to 2013. So we are going to also calculate for depreciation on them. So that's what you are going to do. So we are bringing them again. We are introducing them again. So on 1st January 2011, 2013, asset number one was 8,000 plus 0.20, which gave us 1,600. Number two, multiply by 0.25, so gave us 1,000. But in 2013, another asset was introduced. When we were doing the calculation, another asset was introduced, and it was two assets that was introduced. So if two assets was introduced, You are going to also introduce them. You are going to calculate depreciation on them when the asset was bought. So the end of the year, so that you will know the number of months that the asset was being used. So the 2013, the asset number 3 was purchased on July, 1st July. So on 1st July 07/2013, asset number 3 was purchased. So asset number 3 was purchased on 1st July 1st July 2013. So it means that the asset was being used when it was purchased. This is how we assume it. That the day that asset was purchased was the day that the asset was started being used. So since it was bought on 1st July, 1st July to 31st July was used. That is 1 month. August was also used. That's another 1 month added to be 2 months. September was also being used, 3 months. October was also being used, 4 months. November was also being used, which is 5 months. And December was also being used, so 6 months. So that within that financial year, the asset number 3 was used for 6 months. So we have to calculate for 6 months. So this is how we do the 6 months. So you are going to do it 6 on 12 multiplied by the amount that the asset was bought, which was 9,000, multiplying the 0.220, 20, which will give us, let's put the calculator, 6 divided by 12, that is 0.5, multiplying 9,000, multiplying 0.20, which will give us 900. So there is a depreciation on the assets that was purchased on 1st July 2013, which was used for 6 months. And since it was used for the 6 months, this is how it has been depreciated. That's the value of the depreciation. And the asset, another asset was also purchased at the same financial year, 2013, which is asset number 4. So you have to also calculate for the depreciation for that one too. So first, it was bought on 1st October 2013, asset number 4. And that's the time of purchase was October. First October, that's when the asset was purchased. So it means that it means they use it for the 1st October, from 1st to the last October. So October is 1 month, November is another month, and December is also another month. So it was used for 3 months, depending on the time that they bought the assets. So the asset was bought on October, 21st October. So the asset was used for 3 months. So we have to calculate for the depreciation on the assets, the amount that was being used to purchase the assets. So it's going to be 3 on 12 multiplied by 7,200 multiplied by 0.210, which will give us, let's do it on our calculator. So 3 divided by 12 give us 0.25 multiplying 7,200 multiplying 0.20, which is going to give us 360. So that's the value of the asset when it's depreciated. This is the depreciation of the asset, 360. And after that, no asset was purchased and no asset was sold at that time. So we have to get the value, the total value. So the total value, you are going to add the 360 to the 900, 900 plus 1000 plus 1600, and you are getting 3860 on 2013. So this is accumulated depreciation for 2013. So let's do for 2014. 2014. In 2014, no asset was purchased, but asset was disposed of. An asset was sold. An asset was sold. So since an asset was sold, we have to calculate for the number of the months that was used before it was sold. And it was sold in 2014. And 2014, they sold the assets on 30th September. On 30th September 2014. So it means that they use the assets from January to December before they sold the assets. So we have to calculate for the number of months that they use the assets, how the depreciation was affected, or how the assets depreciated with that 9 months that the asset was being used. So in 2014, all those assets will be carried to 2014, because 2014 is also another financial year. So we have to know the amount, the total value of the asset that we hold in 2014. So this is how we are going to introduce everything one by one. We are going to introduce the 2011 asset that was purchased, the 2013 asset that was purchased, and we calculate the disposal. So this is how we are going to do it. So in 2011, 1st January 2011, asset number 1. $8,000 multiplying 0.20 was equal to 1,600. Asset number 2. Okay. So since asset number 1 was disposed of, we are going to calculate a depreciation on the 9 months. So it's going to be multiplied by 9 on 12. It's going to be 9 on 12. So this is not going to be the total. So as I said earlier, the asset was disposed on 30th September. So it means that the asset was being used from January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. So it was used for 9 months. So we are going to calculate for the depreciation in that 9 months on the asset. That's why it's 9 on 12, multiplying the 8,000 and also the rates. So this is how it's going to be. 9 divided by 12, which will give us 0.75, multiplying 8,000, multiplying 0.20, which is going to give us 1,200. So it's not 1,006, it's 1,200 rather. I apologize for that, I forgot. Then let's do the asset number 2. That one wasn't sold off, so it's going to be still maintained. Multiply 0.20, which will still give us 1,000. And 2013 is on July. Asset number 3. So on the first one that we did, that was the time the July was the time that the asset was being bought. But since the asset, we are entering into another year, which is 2014, the asset is going to be used fully because it ended on 31st December 2013. So if we are entering into 2014, we are going to start using the asset from 1st January to 31st December in 2014. So the asset was used fully in 2014. So we are not going to calculate for the month that was being used. So it's going to be full. So we are just going to do it 9,000 multiplying 0.20, which will give us 9,000 multiplied by 0.20 is equal to 1,800. That was it. That is the depreciation. And the second asset that was also bought on 2013, which is asset number 4, on 1st October 2013, asset number 4. That one is also the same calculation that we are going to do. Since when it was bought on October, we calculated in the time that it was used, which was 3 months, and we calculated